Hi, my name is Cole Chmielewski, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the Epilog Zing 40-watt laser engravers here in the iSTEM lab. So the topics that we're going to cover today are very similar to the 3D printing video. We're going to go over the parts of the machine, software operation, hardware operation, and pre-cut and post-cut procedures. So let's go over the parts of the machine. There are two slides for this. The first is the external parts, which is the hood and then the control deck. Now this has a little LCD that will allow you to read what's going on with the machine and monitor it at all times. These here are numbers as well as a directional pad, so that way you can help focus the machine using the feeler gauge, which flicks down, and then you push up the grate/material. Now the reason why it says material in gray here is because the grate is what you put the material on, but in this picture the wood is the material, so you can't really see it that well. Then over here is the laser head itself, and this is that feeler gauge that flicks down, so that way you want to make sure that it feels pretty rough but not too rough, or else you'll end up burning something. So there are two functions of the laser engraver, and those are engraving versus cutting. Therefore, there are two types of image, raster and vector. A raster image is an image that's comprised of pixels, and when you zoom in on it, it gets pixelier, whereas a vector is a scaled amount of lines, such as this, where however far you zoom in, it won't ever get pixelated because it just recalibrates itself. Vectors are used for cutting, whereas rasters are used for engraving. So as you can see here, this is the printer preferences menu, and this is where you're going to control everything based off of what material you are using and what wattage the laser has. So for this, we've got the vector setting. This is what you would change if you're cutting. You would change speed. It would say, like, for instance, 50S. Then you change the speed to 50%. Power, it would say, for instance, 75p. And you would change this to 75% power. And then the frequency, which is pretty much how high well, not high, but how much of the laser is being shown. And then that will get altered with the frequency. And then for raster, it just lacks frequency because you're not cutting. So the program that we're using with the laser engraver is Adobe Illustrator. Now Adobe Illustrator is very unique as it allows you to draw both vector and raster images in the same file. That's really important if you want to go back here and tap on Combine, and that's where you can do both laser engraving and cutting in the same print. Now the number that you want to remember for making your stroke weight in order to cut is 0.001 inches. That's the only value that the laser engraver will recognize as something that will cut. Everything else will. Alright, so here I am in Adobe Illustrator, and the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this is what I want to engrave. As you can see here, it's a little big for me, so I'm just going to shrink it down a bit, and that will be what I actually engrave rather than something much larger. As you can see, it moves around quite easily because it's a simple PNG image. So what I'm going to do from here is click on File. I'm going to go down to Print. And as you can see, it looks like it's cut off a lot. And that's right, because right now it's out for a standard piece of paper. So what we're going to do is click on Setup, Continue, and make sure that we have Epilog Zing highlighted, because that's our laser engraver. After we have that done, we're going to click on Preferences, and we're going to pop up with this menu that I mentioned earlier. So since this is just an engraving and not a cutting, we can change this from combined to raster. And now that we have that, we can actually change our settings based off of this clipboard. So since I'm using 1/8" wood, and I'm doing a photo engraving, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the DPI to 500, then the speed to 65,
and the power to 100. Now that I have that done, there's one thing that we have to do. We have to change our dimensions. So all we have to do is change the horizontal from 8.5 to 24 and vertical to 12, because that's the dimensions of what the grade is on the engraver. So after we're done that, we can click on OK, print, and as you can see here, it looks a little off, so we can just adjust that to get it in the right spot. Now before we can hit print, there are some hardware things that we have to accomplish.
Alright, so here we are in front of the laser engraver, and the first thing that we're going to do is press the large green button that says Start. This will begin the vacuum, which is kind of loud, so I'll have to speak up a little bit. After the laser engraver's vacuum has been turned on, we're going to actually flip on the machine using the power switch over here. You'll hear a beep once it's ready to go. Right now the LCD is showing some boxes, showing that it's loading. There's the beep. It will begin to calibrate itself, and at this point you can open the hood. As you can see, the laser head is starting to move around. The machine is now calibrated and ready to focus on your material. So what you're going to do is click on number 5 that says Focus, and that's going to push out the plate. From there we're going to push down the focus gauge, and as you can see, it's not touching the material at all. So we have to raise the bit, which we're going to control using the D-pad. We're just going to push this up until the feeler gauge has a little bit of friction with the material. Make sure that's not too much or your material will get burnt. After we get that set up, we're ready to engrave. In order to safely remove your part from the engraver, please follow these steps. Step 1. Turn off the machine. Step 2. Open the hood. Step 3. Remove your part. Step 4. Close the hood. And that's it. Thanks again for watching. Happy engraving, and I hope to see you next time.